Reality Sandwich by Krojac. Narration by Justin Thomas James. Chapter 5. Jerome pressed his body tight against the back of the sofa. He put one of the shoes on the floor next to him and held the other shoe in his right hand, his stronger hand, ready to strike the creature if he was forced to defend himself. Wren tried to make contact again. "Hello, I'm Wren. I don't want to hurt you. Please, don't be afraid." Jerome turned so that his back was leaning against the back of the sofa. "Go away, whatever you are." "I'm a girl, a woman, actually. I just want to be your friend." "No, you're not." "I am, honestly. I'm from outside." "There's no such thing as a woman, not outside anyway. There's nothing outside, just cockroaches." "Are you a cockroach?" Wren wondered if this scared but handsome man knew what a cockroach was. "Do I look like a cockroach?" "Maybe." "What does a cockroach look like then?" 6 legs, large compound eyes, 2 antennae, insects of the order Blattodea." Jerome had watched many nature documentaries and knew exactly what a cockroach looked like. "How many legs do I have?" "Dunno. Maybe 6. "Take a look, then. I promise I'll stay here in the doorway." Jerome didn't want to look, but thought he should. If the thing was a cockroach, it was a talking cockroach, and he was pretty certain that cockroaches weren't supposed to be able to talk. He poked his head out from behind the sofa, just long enough to count Wren's legs. She asked the same question again. "How many legs do I have?" 2, I suppose." "So, am I a cockroach?" "I guess not. But you can't be from outside. There's only cockroaches outside." "And that's why you thought I must be a cockroach?" "Yes." "Take another look. I won't bite, I promise you." "Promise?" "Promise." Jerome peered out at Wren from his hiding place. She looked like Kat and Emily, in that she had long hair and soft facial features. He had to concede that she was very pretty, really pretty. Her body curved in and out at the same places as Kat's, too. All the evidence was pointing to the fact that she was indeed a woman. But he still wasn't convinced. "You said you were from outside?" "Yes." "Why aren't you dead?" "What do you mean, why aren't I dead?" "Everybody knows nobody can survive outside. The rain melts skin, and without skin, you die." "It does rain sometimes." "It rains all the time." "No, it doesn't." "I know these things." "It doesn't rain all the time. It rains sometimes, and when it does, it's wonderfully refreshing. The rain doesn't kill things. It helps them grow." "Helps what grow?" "Trees, flowers." "There are no trees or flowers. Everything is dead." "Why do you say that?" "It's common knowledge." "Well, I don't know who told you that, but they lied to you. I'm the living proof." "Go away." "Sorry?" "I said go away." "Why do you want me to go away?" "I don't want you here. You don't exist. I'm imagining you." "You're not imagining me. I'm real." "You can't be. You must be a projection, a hologram, some kind of new technology." "No, I'm real, honestly." Wren knew that there was only one way to convince Jerome that she wasn't a hallucination, or indeed a hologram. "Touch me." "Pardon?" "I said touch me." "I can't. I'll have to leave the safety of my sofa." "I'll come over to you, nice and slowly. You can touch me." "I don't know." "You'd rather know that you aren't imagining things and that I'm not a hologram, wouldn't you?" "I think so." "Come on, then. You stay there, and I'll come to you." "Slowly." "Slowly, I promise." Wren made her way from the kitchen doorway to the middle of the living room calmly, so as not to alarm the frightened young man. She crouched down on her haunches beside the sofa so that she was within reach of Jerome, but out of sight. I'm here. I'm going to stretch my arm out so that you can reach it. I won't try to touch you. You can touch me. Jerome saw Wren's hand come into view. You won't do anything? You won't try to grab me? I promise. Jerome knew that he was about to take a great risk. He had no reason to trust the woman, but he also had no reason to distrust her either. He put down the shoe that he was still holding in his right hand and gradually edged his hand closer to hers. As their hands drew closer, he could feel his heart starting to beat faster. Finally, the centimeters became millimeters, and then the moment came when the tips of his fingers touched Wren's skin. The magnitude, the importance of what was happening suddenly hit him. He was touching another human being, a real, live human being. Nobody had done that for well over a century. He was doing something that was right up there with Neil Armstrong's first step on the moon. Well, maybe that was a bit of an exaggeration, but it was an unheard of experience for anyone for decades. Wren's skin was soft and warm. He didn't really know what he'd been expecting. He knew it wouldn't be metallic, but he thought it could have had a plastic feel to it. But it was just like his own skin. It was flesh, human flesh. He let his hand rest on top of hers for a few seconds before pulling it back into the sanctuary that was behind the sofa. Can you move back towards the kitchen, please? You don't have to leave the living room, just move away a little. Wren did as she was asked. So, am I real? I believe you are, but I don't understand. Jerome stood up and moved into the center of the living room, still maintaining a safe distance between the two of them. His suspicions had all but disappeared. She certainly didn't appear to have any intention of harming him. She could easily have done so when she offered her hand for him to touch, but she hadn't made any threatening moves. He looked at her, trying desperately not to stare. Kat was beautiful, and so was this woman, but in a different way. She didn't have a cute nose like Kat's, but it was a pretty nose, and her eyes were a dark brown, whereas Kat's were blue. She was wearing a loose-fitting dark jacket over a petrol blue t-shirt and a pair of baggy cream trousers, but he could still make out the curves of her figure. On her feet were a pair of scuffed trainers. She certainly would never have won a fashion competition dressed like this, but a bewitching beauty shone through. Jerome thought that perhaps he should introduce himself. My name's Jerome. Jerome Cooper. Hello, Jerome Cooper. I'm Wren. I know, you said. So, Jerome, what now? What do you mean? I mean, where do we go from here? Jerome realized what the time was. Eddie would be making his daily inquiry soon. As much as he wanted to tell his friends about Wren, something inside him told him that it wouldn't be a good idea. Not yet, anyway. I'm sorry, Wren, but you have to go now. Are you sure? The truth was that Jerome didn't want Wren to go at all. He had so many questions he wanted to ask her, but he couldn't risk exposing her existence yet. He would have to prime his friends first, maybe chat about what could be outside. None of them had ever ventured outside of their apartments. All they knew of what lay beyond their doors was what they had been told. And Jerome now knew that at least part of what they had been told was a lie. He looked apologetically at Wren. I would love you to stay, but you do need to go. I have plans for tonight. A look of disappointment came over Wren's face. Jerome continued. But you can come back tomorrow. If you want to, that is. Of course I want to. When? Same time as today? Maybe half an hour earlier? Great. I'll see you then. She turned to make her way to the inspection hatch that she'd opened to get access to the apartment, but was halted by Jerome's voice. He wanted to prove to himself again that this wasn't a dream. Can I touch you again before you go? She turned around and held her hand out. Of course. Jerome walked towards her and placed his hand in hers. Their palms met, and she squeezed his hand gently. He looked into her eyes, as if trying to peer into her soul. He let out a brief, involuntary sigh. "You're beautiful." Wren wasn't sure how to react. "I bet you say that to all the girls." Jerome didn't see any point in spoiling the moment by telling her about Kat. "No, only you." Wren blushed. "I'd better get going. You have plans. See you tomorrow? I'll try to be a bit earlier." She took back her hand and left the building as swiftly as she'd arrived, securing the inspection hatch behind her. Jerome just stood there, looking at the space where Wren had been, wondering if he really had just met another human being. But the nerves in his hand hadn't completely recovered from her touch yet, and the sensation that he'd felt when she'd squeezed his hand was receding, but still present for a few more seconds. His thoughts were interrupted by the chime of an incoming communication. It was Eddie. Of course it was Eddie. It was 6:15. "You coming down to the pub tonight?" To be honest, Jerome would rather have spent the evening on his own, processing the afternoon's events. But that would have raised both eyebrows and questions, so he gave his stock response. "I think I may be able to force myself to partake of a beverage or two. Are Martin and Terry going? And the girls?"